Is it bad to leave your iPad plugged in? Do you need to drain it to 0% before you recharge? How do you keep your battery working well for the longest time? Well, that's what we're going to cover in this video. Let's go. The answers are no, no, and it's complicated. But if you want to find out more, hang around because I'm going to talk all things lithium-ion batteries for iPads and iPhones in this video. Let's dive in. Here's the good news. If you came here for the basic information, it is this. In 2024, you do not have to worry about the lithium-ion batteries in your smart devices. Why? Because they have smart charging. Yes, every iPad and every iPhone now will actually monitor and assess the battery and make sure that it's charging in the most optimal way. So no, you don't have to worry about whether you leave it plugged in or not. You don't have to worry about letting it drain because the software takes care of all of that. You can control it, and we'll talk about that a little bit later. But how do we make sure that we maintain the health of our batteries and make sure that our devices last the longest they can? Let's dive in and take a look. Here is a wonderful website that I prepared earlier. Okay, Apple prepared this one. This is all the details about how to charge and maintain your iPad battery. And guess what? The same thing applies to your iPhone. You can learn about your battery's lifespan and all the information you need to know. In fact, it's linked in the description of this very video. You can hit pause now if you want to read this, or again, check the link. But there's some things that you need to keep in mind when using your device to make sure that your battery health is the best it can be. Number one, temperature can affect your battery. Yes, your battery will not charge if it is too hot or too cold. If, like me, you live in a hot climate like Australia, where it definitely does get above 35 degrees Celsius, you would have seen that little thing pop up going, "We ain't charging your phone or your iPad anymore. It's too hot." And apparently when you live in a colder climate, the same thing applies because lithium-ion batteries, they're chemicals in there. They need to be able to be at the right temperature to charge. So if your phone or your iPad tells you it can't charge, go to a cooler or warmer place and try again. And if you hit pause, you can check out the details there. In fact, the reason it won't charge over 80% is because it may be too hot or too cold. So if you're finding that you plug in your iPhone or your iPad in, it says, "We're not charging," and you're like, well, why not? It may be that it's at 80% and you're too hot or too cold for it to continue. Another thing that's important for battery health is Wi-Fi and Bluetooth. Yes, if you can turn it off, turn it off. If you're using it, of course, that's not going to help you. But every radio that you have in your phone, whether it's your cellular radio, your Wi-Fi radio, or your Bluetooth radio, because they're all radio transmitters, every one of those uses a lot of energy, and that means battery. So if you want to save on battery power, turn off that Wi-Fi, turn off that Bluetooth, and you'll get a whole lot more battery life. But how do you maximize the battery life and, more importantly, the lifespan of the batteries in your iPhone or your iPad? Well, I'm glad you asked, and once again, Apple have got the answer. Number one is to update to the latest software. Now, this one's controversial because some people say the new iOS or iPadOS version uses more power, and as soon as I installed it, the battery life went down. Yes, that has happened and can happen, especially if you're on a beta version or the very first version. If you follow my advice and you don't update till it's at least 0.01 or 0.1 of the new iOS or iPadOS, you'll probably be fine. But if you're finding your battery life is lagging, updating the firmware or updating the iOS or iPadOS on your device can certainly help. The brightness of your screen can actually seriously impact your battery life. So if you want to turn the brightness of your screen down, jump into your settings and do that, and you can save a lot of battery. To change the brightness on your device, swipe from the top right or from the bottom if you're on an older device, and you want to look at this one here, the brightness slider. You can drag that down or drag it all the way up. If you don't need the brightness, if you're indoors, you can turn that down. You're going to save a whole lot of battery power by not having a bright screen. Now, most of us have probably seen that thing that pops up when you're running out of battery that says, would you like to enable low power mode? This can be super handy. And did you know you can enable it even before you start running out of power? To do that, the easiest way is to just swipe down or go to your search and type in low power, and there's your low power mode setting. If you just tap on that one, you'll you'll turn on low power mode, your little battery icon will turn yellow, and you'll start using less battery power for the reasons that Apple tell you over there. Hit pause now if you want to know more. And did you know that you can view your battery usage and battery health information? Is really simple to do. Let's dive in and show you how. To access your battery information, hit the settings button here on your iPhone or iPad, and on the left-hand side, scroll down until you find this one, the battery. And look at this. You can check out the battery percentage. You can turn that off or on, and that will change what's displayed up there. You can turn low power mode off or on, and you've also got a heap of data here about your battery. If we scroll down, we can see whether the battery health at the top here is normal or if it's actually starting to struggle. And this is interesting information. You can see which apps you've been using that have been using the most amount of battery power. Now, the last 24 hours is fine, but if you tap on this one, the last 10 days, this is where you start getting some real data. Are there some apps, like for me, the Photos app, that are using more data than they should? Well, you can check that out right here and then determine, do you need to use those? Are there apps you need to delete? Do you need to reduce your usage of those apps? Is there something running in the background that's causing the battery drain? In fact, that's a great segue to our next topic, which is your background activity. Yes, we can adjust this as well. We can improve battery life by turning off the updates that happen in the background while we're not using apps. This time here in the settings app, we want to go to general, and this time we want to come over to the side here and go to background app refresh. Now, why is mine already saying off? Well, that's because we're in low power mode already. Remember when we went to the battery and we turned that on? That will automatically disable those background app refreshes, which is one of the cool things that low power mode does. But let's turn that off so that we can go back and take a look at this setting. Once again, settings, general, and then we're going to jump in here to background app refresh. Now, look at all these apps. Every single app by default wants to be refreshing in the background. This is going to be using copious amounts of that precious battery power. Now, there's a couple of things you can do here. If we tap on this one, I've only got this set to Wi-Fi. Make sure that you don't have this on Wi-Fi and mobile data. Otherwise, when you're out and about, especially with your iPhone, that's going to use a whole lot of your battery power, not to mention your mobile data. So have that on Wi-Fi, or you can turn it off here, and that's going to do the same thing that low power mode does. Or if you want to have it on, go through each of these apps and work out, do you really need all of these being able to refresh in the background? What I recommend that you have for refreshing is anything you need notifications from. I'm talking maps, maybe email if you're that way inclined, maybe your socials if you're that way inclined, but definitely don't need the vast majority of your apps refreshing in the background. They're just taking up battery that you don't need. Okay, we've reached the extra nerdy portion. If you want to learn a whole lot more about why Apple use lithium-ion batteries, how they use all of their smart technology to make sure that they get the longest battery life for your devices, you can check it all out here. All the information about smart charging and how the cycling works, how they calculate all the information, that's all right there on the Apple website. If you'd like to find out more, check the links in the description. There you have it. If, like me, you remember the days where you had to plug your new devices in for 24 hours before you could even turn them on, you don't have to do that anymore. Now, there's more to know about batteries, including how to manage them effectively, how to recycle them, how to check your battery health. So if you've got other questions or you want to see more videos like these here on Studio Live today, let me know down in the comments below. But hopefully this helped you out, and I'll see you next time.